Alright, let's talk about Norin the Wary. So the Duskmourn panel at PAX previewed a bunch of cards, one of which was the return of a character that has existed for as long as Magic. And that character is Norin. I thought it was going to be Asmor and Cool Dakar, but it's Norin. So let's go back in time. Back in Alpha, Norin was quoted on the text for Jade's statue. And then he returned for the set The Dark, and he is from the time period of The Dark. That's about 4,000 years ago in universe. And then he would have a bunch of flavor text over time. Some of them were jokes relating to each other, but in general, he was clearly an explorer of some kind who was not a big fan of danger. He appeared on a bunch of 6th edition stuff. He had a joke in Time Spiral about lemurs rather than lemures, and that's because of a misunderstanding by the artist for this card from the original Ice Age, who drew a lemur instead of a lemure. That got fixed in Dominaria Remastered, and Norin has a quote about that too. So how is Norin in Duskmourn now? Well, way back in the Time Spiral block, Magic was doing their first nostalgic return set, and they wanted to print a bunch of iconic characters who hadn't had cards yet. And so came the Time Spiral crisis. Time Spiral was all about these rifts in time that were opening up all over the place because of damage to the fabric of the multiverse, and the mending is what ended it. I did a video on the mending like a week or two ago if you want to scroll down and read about that or listen to that. So Norin was one of those characters briefly transported to the future along with a bunch of the others. A lot of them are known to be dead now, because they go back to their own point in time. However, Norin was just a flavor text character. Something established as far back as Magic 2014 with Armored Cancrix is that creatures displaced from time will still turn up every year, stranded by the temporal disaster that once swept across Dominaria. And in the more recent Suspend cards, we see examples of that. We see an elf leaving the sort of sandblasted wasteland of Dominaria around the Mending and the Time Spiral crisis, and coming into modern fruitful Dominaria. We also see that in Knight of Old Benalia. He is an old Benalian knight from centuries ago, coming into new Benalia. So it's pretty well established this can happen, even the new Daragaz. This guy, his latest egg for his latest reincarnation was found by Joyra near a open time rift. So while lots of Dominarians, for necessity's sake back in the day to keep them around when planeswalkers could live basically forever, had some sort of functional immortality, that's like Joda, Zerd, Joyra, all those characters. They didn't actually do that for Norin. What Mark Rosewater has said is that Norin, rather than stepping through a portal back home, ended up in the future in the modern day. So he has jumped in time a bunch. And at some point, either going through an omen path to somewhere where there was a door, or from Dominaria itself, ended up on Duskmourn. So that's how Norin is still around. He's not ageless, he's not immortal, he's not always been from Duskmourn. He is just very unlucky. And that's the story of Norin.